when we this is really weird. This is so weird. So when we put tents up normally, we have to think about the ground underneath the ground and where we're putting our tents. So we walk around and we make sure that there are no stones or sticks underneath on the ground like this, because when you sit down for the night, someone will end up sitting on stuff like that. Okay, all right. So we pick up all of these stones. Eric. Stop showing off, please. Stop showing off. So if someone else wants to do something like this, next week, okay, this would be really cool. So if you want to practice and if you want to put your hand up and say, look, actually, can we spot like me for 20 minutes in the garden, putting a tent up or doing something scouty, then we'll watch you. So this is an idea. And if you want to put a tent up in your garden and show us how you do it, then we'll watch you next week. Okay. All right, so put some ideas in, and we'll try and pick a winner out the hats if you want to do it.
Okay.
And, and I think that'd be quite a nice little suggestion thing to do. So, right.
I've already slept in a tent a few weeks ago, but I didn't.
Ah, awesome. Okay, so on the floor. All right. Okay, so we are going to pick our ground. We're making sure we haven't got anything. So also, when we also raise the tent as well, okay, we also think about, is it on a hill? Is it level? Is it bumpy? Is there a tree above with a dodgy branch that could fall on top of the tent if it was windy at night? So we have, we just have to make sure we have to look around. And one thing as well, sometimes you don't want to sleep with our head downhill, because if you sleep with our head downhill in the middle of the night, all the blood rushes to your head and you get a bit of a headache. So some, depends on your preference, but I normally like to sleep with my head up the hill and my feet down. Okay, so you have to think about that, where the tent, how you're going to do the tent. Also, we think about where we want to see the tent in the morning. So do you want to wake up in the morning and see the sunrise, or do you want to sit in your tent and watch the sunset? So sometimes if you want to, south facing or north facing, where do you want the sun? So, think about these things sometimes as well. So we've got our tent, my tent bag. Okay. So assistant. So inside our tent bag, we have our tent. And if I've wrapped it up really well, I've got some tent pegs as well. Okay. So you, Mr. Assistant, can you hold on to that? Mr. Non-scouty assistant, because where's your scout uniform? So, actually, Enzo, sit down, pay attention, film me. So, one thing we don't want to do is just leave this on the floor, because what happens is, if we leave this on the floor, and it's happened, and I've seen this happen before, this sometimes blows away, and if you're camping near a lake, this can blow into the lake. And then this thing's floating away and you haven't got a tent bag anymore. So either keep the tent bag, in here, keep it like that, so you know where it is. Eric, I haven't got a lot of time. Eric, or you keep the tent pegs and put the bag aside and put it on the floor. So see that, Enzo? Enzo, you taking notes, Enzo? Yeah. So, on the floor, right? So yeah, and also as well, make sure it's yours, because sometimes when we go on camp and we're camping with lots of kids and lots of tents that go up, often that we find that whose is this tent bag? No one knows where their tent bag is, you see. And the whole point is, if you put your tent up really quickly, or you put your tent up efficiently, you know where everything is. When it comes to taking it down, and we go off and do cool stuff, if we go and break camp and we go off and do something, we were going to go and camp this weekend, weren't we, Dan? I think it would have been was it this weekend we were going to go camping?
Yeah, 3 days time we should be going.
Yeah, 3 days time we would have been going up to the Lake District. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dan had something planned that we'd break camp on Sunday morning, and we would go off somewhere. So that means sometimes it's really good that when Dan says like, Dan, come the tents, that we take the tents down really, really quickly, and so we can go off. So we just need to make sure when we set up the tent that we remember all the bits are, so we can put it back together again. Enzo, I know you're doing chat stuff on there. Okay, so Enzo, film me. Enzo's getting cold because I can just see you shivering as he's trying to film there, so I'm just putting a cloth around him. Right, so here we go. And Eric, my assistant, where is my assistant? Playing games. Okay, so Enzo, film me. Eric, put that down. Okay, so or shall I go and get how about some embarrassing thing now? Otherwise, I go and get your mother and tell you to behave in front of all the other scouts. Okay. All right. So we lay out the tent. And we've got our pegs here and the peg bag. Sorry, the pole bag. We need to make sure that we don't lose them either. So we don't go with this. We don't go like that either, because we'll go around and go, where are my poles gone? Where are my poles gone? And I don't know where they are. And I'll say, so keep the poles in the bag still until we need to use them. Enzo, Eric. So the next thing we need to figure out, because we do this sometimes as well, where's the, do your shoelaces up so you don't want to trip up. So where's the entrance to the tent? You don't want to put the tent up and find that because this happens on Eric, Enzo, pay attention. Look at the, Enzo's trying to send you text messages when he should be filming me. So Eric, go and get my man if he does it again. So what we need to make sure of is, we've seen this before on camp a few times. We had to make a change. The Cubs or the Scouts have put the tent up really, really well, but they put the tent in the wrong direction, so it faces away. So it faces towards a tree or something, or it faces towards a fence, and they can't get at the tent properly. So if you put the tent in the right direction, then everything should be okay. So hopefully this should work. So where's the entrance to my tent? It's here. We also have to, Eric, be mindful as well that we've got guy ropes on this tent as well. So we have to make sure that when we put our tent up, we've got enough space to put our guy ropes.
What's a guy rope?
These are guy ropes here. It helps the tent keep its shape. Okay. All right. So we're laying out we lay our tent. So the first thing we need to do is that we get our poles. Sorry. Some people like to peg it out first, but I'm going to put the poles in. Okay. Okay. So the next thing we don't do here, we don't just throw this over our shoulder and forget about it. We take the tent bag. Sorry. And we put the pole bag in with the tent bag. So we keep it all together, because otherwise we'll have to put the subs up, and your parents have to pay more, because we've lost all the tents. We'll lose all the tent stuff as well. It's really cold, isn't it? Yeah. So I have a tent that has equal poles, you see. So these poles here, these are the poles. They come together like that. So sometimes they come to, and for my tent, they are the same. They're the same size. So sometimes some of the tents that we have for Scouts, you'll see that there'll be a colour band. There may be a colour here or something, or there may be a colour band here or a colour band at the top. And you'll also notice here on the tent where the poles go in, that there'll be a colour band, Enzo. Okay. So there'll be a colour band here as well. So there may be a blue or a black colour band and a blue or a black colour band there. Because sometimes when the Scouts put the tents up, we put the poles in the wrong thing, and the tent looks all a bit topsy-turvy and all confusing looking. So we carefully feed the poles through. And so it's my helper. So what we don't do at the other end, Eric doesn't pull the pole, because if he pulls the pole, what happens underneath is pull the pole. That happens. You see, Enzo, are you filming that properly? No, this happens. You see,
What is this?
this keeps the poles together. So when you pull it, if you pull it, that's what happens, and then it gets,
Tangy
can get damaged or broken or lost and things like that. So, and nobody, Eric, and no one wants to be in the tent that's got the broken poles, because it's not, the best sleep. Okay. So all Eric's doing is making sure the material goes through. There we go. And see this piece here, 1 second. See the piece in the middle, the apex here. We make sure when we put it through the tent that it matches up on the apex on the tent as well. Okay. All right, here. And then there should be a little bit of material here like that showing. There should be a little bit of material showing that. Okay. Don't pull that. Okay. So,
Elliot, as part of this exercise, will you be sleeping in that this evening? Maybe you can send a few photographs to show us how good your tent expertise is.
Yeah, maybe so. Actually, I might have to consult with the boss about the state of the grass underneath or something.
Sure.
Oh God. Or the foxes might get, or that fox might get me. The fox that was getting the horse or something or whatever. The fox might be, yeah. And I'll get nuclear farted or something, whatever. So when we put the tent, before we put the tent up, you see these Enzo, stand up. Come over. Look. So film this. We've got these collets here. Okay. So we put this collet through there like that. Okay. And we go and do that on the other side. And Enzo, Eric, sorry.
Elliot, you're the Keith Floyd of tents.
I haven't got a nail.
You should.
Perhaps I could get a Coca-Cola or something. No, I don't need a Coca-Cola. Not at this time of night. Right, boys. The other side. So come film over here, Enzo. Enzo, come film over here. So then, there's also one at the back. There's also one at the back. Okay. And there's going to be one on the other side as well. Okay. All right. So. Right, come over here. That's it. There you go. And then there's one here. You see, and then the tent starts to take some shape. Okay, so now is the time I need my assistant. Okay, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, but we just get the initial shape of the tent, just so when we've got a peg out, and we can tune it in a minute. Okay, all right. So there we go. Just get the initial, yeah. Okay, can you see that? Okay. Whoops. And I didn't peg that out. Let's put those plants there. Okay. All right. There we go. So. Look at that. So the guy ropes are useful when it's really windy, because when it's windy, the tent's going to do that. Okay, Enzo. So it's really windy when we do this. Enzo, Eric, what are you touching the screen for? And then, so what we can do for the guy rope, we just peg it out like that, and try and peg it out in the direction of the frame of the tent. Like this, you see? So it forms a nice long line. And you just have to be mindful when you put the guy ropes in that you don't trip up over them. And if someone else puts a tent down, that you leave enough space to walk in between, because sometimes at night time when you want to go to the loo or you want to walk around, you don't want to end up tripping up, you know, and fall over like that. So a couple of little things about tent etiquette, okay? So when we prepare our tent, if you see here, we've got, you know, some of you will have a ground sheet here, okay? All right, some of you have a ground sheet here, and this is where you might keep your bags and things like that. So what you don't want to do, or you might keep your muddy boots here as well. So when you get into a tent, okay, you don't want to put your muddy boots in there. So and this is how we get into a tent. So if you want to see, step back a wee bit. So we get into a tent like this, backside first, and then we can take our shoes off and put our shoes aside, or put our shoes in a dry bag or whatever we need to do, and then we can get further back into our tent. You see? And that's the way, and that's how to put up a tent. Keep it dry inside, keep it clean inside. All right, so here we go. So when you take the tent down, it's best if you make sure inside first that it's all clean and you haven't got, you know, Bob's underpants or Sue's, you know, or someone else's, you know, really nice sunglasses, which you found a really nice pair of sunglasses wrapped up in a tent. So make sure the tent is clean inside, Eric. Pay attention, Eric. So make sure tent's clean inside. There's nothing inside. We've swept it all away. There's no chocolate bars or wrappers or anything sticky inside. Close up the door. Close up the outer door so the tent keeps its shape. Okay. Whoops. It's got a bit dirty there. Right. So we go around, take the guy ropes lines out first, and then sort of, okay. You don't want to lose your pegs, so you go around and you get your peg bag. Okay, you put your pegs in the peg bag. Hopefully nice and clean so they don't get dirty. Okay, so we've got a few pegs here. So we just go around the tent. We make sure we pick all the pegs out and we don't lose any of them, because what happens is we go camping and then the next person that wants a tent is missing.
Yeah.
Next person who wants a tent, leave it like that. So the next person who goes camping doesn't have any pegs. and sometimes doesn't have any poles. We've done that before as well. We're missing poles. So as you pull out the tent will fall over. It will. This is where you make sure, Eric, don't trip up. This is where you make sure also it doesn't blow away, because if it's on a windy day, it could start to blow away. And when it moves around, you end up losing. If you don't pick up the pegs as you go around, you end up losing the pegs, especially with the long grass as well, because your tent's moved a few inches to the left or to the right. So, done. And then the tent's going to fall over now. So now Eric, focus here, please. Now we take out the from the collets. Okay, like that. Okay. Uh-oh, someone's stuck. When we take the poles out of the tent, we don't pull them. Okay? Because what happens if you pull them? That's a question. What happens if you pull them? So, Eric, over there. Stand over there, Eric. So, we pull them. No, Eric, that's it. Eric, be behind the camera, Eric, so you can see it. So, you see? And then we have to go and find the piece of metal inside and push it out. Now we get the pole. We wrap up the poles like this. Okay. And then we've got the pole bag. We haven't lost the pole bag because we've got the pole bag because the pole bag's been in our tent bag. And we do the other one. And we push it through. We push. We don't pull it. We just pull the material back and push the metal through and pull the material back. Okay. So how do we get it in the bag now? Okay, so try and get it in some way. There we go. And this is where we need the poles in the pole bag. This is why the pole bags and the poles are really useful to put the tent away. Okay, look at this. Okay, put it on the floor. Now we have to get the tent out, stretch it out. Some cases it may need to be dried, but we're not going to worry about it here. So try and get the tent in a nice and neat fashion. So pull the thing in the center like that as you saw it before, you know, and try and get these collets out in the corner. It's going to be really, really windy, so sometimes this is where you might need a friend to, you know, keep one side on it. One second, yeah. 1 second. So that could be another time. Okay, and then you put that here like that. Right, now we've got the tent kind of where we want it. Okay. This is where the pole bag comes useful, because this is basically the width of the bag. Okay, if it fits the wheel of the bag. So this tent, I think we fold it. Crikey, you fold it like that, one side, and try to get the length of the tent. See, look at the pole. Look at the poles. Yep. Then we do it to the end. Thank you, assistant. Okay. Okay, and then hopefully, if you folded it correctly, it should still fit in the bag. Look at that. There we go. And if you've got a nice bag like that, go like that. Right, yeah. And then we put the catches over like that. There we go. And the other catch over like this. Are you filming that, Eric?
Yep.